If all else fails, there's always that little home in the country.
My home is the theater.
I thought you hated the theater.
I also hate the sight of blood, but it's in my veins. Hey, Gila.
Hey, Rob.
How are you?
I am doing quite well. How are you?
I am doing very well as well. Do you know why?
Why is that?
Because we're recording episode 404 of Modern Technology Watches.
Episode 404, Not Found of Modern Technology Watches. Wait, I know that podcast. That's the podcast where you, Rob Vincent,
And you, Gila Drazen,
share movies from our combined collection, except today. Today we're not doing that.
No, and in fact, we're in a different place than we usually are.
We are. We're in a different place. We're in a different city, a different state, a different time zone, a different everything. And we are pleased to welcome back a repeat guest to the podcast. Mystery guest, would you enter and sign in, please?
Good evening. May I introduce myself?
Please, by all means.
Yes, this is Susie Drazen, Gila Drazen's mother and Rob Vincent's mother-in-law.
Yes, indeed. And you were previously a guest on this program back in episode 109 in 2019.
109, Some Like It Hot.
Wow.
Yeah.
A family favorite.
Indeed.
A multi-generational family favorite.
Absolutely. So welcome back.
Thank you. Thank you for inviting me.
And thank you for inviting us. Now, last time you were with us on this program, you were visiting us in New York.
Correct.
In our apartment. Now we're visiting you in Wisconsin in your apartment.
Exactly.
And you have something for us.
I do indeed.
And we are excited to find out what it is. We know that listeners, you know what it is because you've already seen the episode title, but we don't know yet. So we are waiting with bated breath on veritable tenterhooks.
This evening's movie is not necessarily one you would expect from me.
Okay.
The movie is Limelight, 1952, Charlie Chaplin.
Oh.
It's clearly a talkie. This is the first movie in which I actually heard Charlie Chaplin's speaking voice. I saw this before I saw The Great Dictator, and I was so blown away by it, I wanted to share this with you.
Well, thanks.
Well,
Yeah.
You're welcome.
And The Great Dictator is kind of known, I think, probably the best known of Chaplin's talkies. I have not seen this one.
Good. I'm glad.
Okay.
And I guess we'll have to wait and see. I do hope that this will touch you the same way that it did me. But there's just so many things about this movie that I found both resonant and poignant. And so I'm very happy to share it with you this evening.
Well, thanks.
Well,
Wonderful.
You're welcome.
We're excited.
Okay, and we are not grabbing this off a DVD shelf in our usual manner. You're pulling this up on streaming for us.
Correct.
And I believe you have the description from the streaming service.
I do.
Here.
Would you like to read it? Would you like me to read it? Would you like to read it, Gila Chava?
Sure, I can read it.
Okay, there you go.
On behalf of us both, reading the movie info from, is this TCM?
Yes.
Or HBO Max, whichever.
All right.
All right.
Depressed over her failed dance career, Terry, Claire Bloom, attempts suicide only to be rescued by Calvero, Charles Chaplin, an impoverished, once famous stage clown. Calvero revives Terry's health and prospects, and in the process recovers his own self-esteem as well. When Terry proposes marriage, Calvero thinks their age difference is too great, and leaves to become a street clown, so that Terry's friendship with a promising young composer, Sidney Chaplin, can instead blossom.
All right.
Well, this feels like the feel-good romp of the century.
It's not a matter of feel good as much as I guess you'll see. How's that?
Okay.
There are cameos of people that you either will or will not recognize who went on to either had done or went on to do other things with which you may be more familiar.
Okay.
Claire Bloom, I don't know if this was her first movie, but she went on to have a long and very distinguished career. So, there you go.
All right.
Okay.
Looking at the rest of the info on the site here, released 1952, director Charlie Chaplin. Lead cast, Charlie Chaplin, Claire Bloom, Sidney Chaplin, Nigel Bruce, Buster Keaton, Norman Lloyd.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Andrea Glevsky, Melissa Hayden, director Charlie Chaplin. So this is exciting.
Yes. This is very exciting. I had not heard of this. I'm looking forward to this. So how's about we let Torley play some music for the people.
All right.
And then we'll come back after 1952's Limelight.
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 Let's go. Okay, Gila, Susie, are we back?
I think we're back.
We're back.
We have watched 1952's Limelight.
We certainly have.
We're recording this the following evening. That was quite a movie. Before we get into it, Susie, you had said you saw this when you were a kid?
I was probably a teenager or a college student, and I watched it with my mother. And in addition to the fact that my mother loved movies, my mother knew a lot about them. And so she would share information about who was in it and when it was made and why that was significant, which I always found fascinating.
Now, did you see it in the theater?
No.
Because apparently it was re-released in 1972?
No, we saw it probably on public on public television, because who else was going to run it?
Right.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a long time ago.
Yeah, there was no HBO.
No. I guess the other piece of it is, as you could see from the article, from 1952 to 1972, it really wasn't available. Mm-hmm. So you're right. It would have been sometime after that, but it would have been when I was home. We definitely did not see it in the theater.
Younger listeners might not be all that hip to the idea of a movie just not being available to see, especially older movies. You know, you would have like certain re-releases of things, but you couldn't just go and watch anything. You had to wait for it to pop up on TV, and that was a sheer luck situation.
That was definitely a sheer luck situation, and there wasn't the capacity to play movies at home in the same way. So there wasn't video, there wasn't DVD, and yeah, you either had it or you didn't. And you saw it or you didn't. And there was not the same ability to build a home video library.
Not to mention the fact, and forgive me if I appear to be lecturing, but Charlie Chaplin was blacklisted. And that was a big deal. And so basically what I knew about Charlie Chaplin was his silent era work. And so I knew about the little guy with the bowler and the mustache and the funny walk and the cane. And that was basically it. I didn't know about any of his pictures that he made afterward, where there was language involved. And so, as I said last night as we were watching, the thing that struck me about this was just for me hearing that voice and how beautiful that voice is, how mellifluous it is. I mean, granted, it was a script, but still, his voice was remarkable. He would have made the transition to talkies without a problem.
Right.
Yeah.
Not Lena Lamont.
Not Lena Lamont.
No, not Lena Lamont. I mean, he would have had to have a different persona. But he did in his other movies. But this is the one. I mean, I realize that other people saw The Great Dictator, but this is the one that tripped it for me. Which is why I was so eager for you to watch it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, I was going to ask what led you to pick this for now?
I was trying to think, honestly, of something that you probably hadn't seen that was completely different than other stuff that you would have done. Have you done, was Some Like It Hot the oldest movie that you viewed before this one?
No.
What was?
Metropolis.
Metropolis. Okay.
Fritz Lang.
Yeah, right.
And Lifeboat's also older than Something Like It Hot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Lifeboat was what, 42?
44, I want to say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Interesting. And the supporting cast in this, I mean, again, I think I said this, that there are certain actors that when they're on the screen, I neither hear nor see anybody else. And Charlie Chaplin turns out to be one of those people.
Okay. So, this movie, I know I hadn't seen it before, and I certainly have a lot of feelings about it. Let's start with you, Gila, and throw you right under the bus here.
Yeah, you sure did. You sure did. Looking back at the corpus of what we've watched, this put me in mind of nothing we've dealt with so much as The Adventure of Sherlock Holmes' Smarter Brother. So Charlie Chaplin wrote it, directed it, produced it, starred in it. Mm-hmm. It was about himself. There were some all hail Gila moments, as far as I'm concerned. It was a valedictory. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but it was a lot of all hail Gila. And then he was able to like rewrite some of the moments of his life. Mm-hmm. And when the nubile young girl came and said, "Oh, I'm in love with you, let's get married," he's like, no. Like, he took the opportunity to be a better man. And then he died with dignity and honor in the wings after having, just knocked the socks off the entire performance. I didn't dislike it. I didn't find it as emotionally resonant as I think you might have and might have hoped that I would. I think also this was like Claire Bloom's first big movie role, and I could not take anything she said seriously because of her tone of voice in the whole thing. Do you remember when J.K. Simmons hosted Saturday Night Live and they did the Cinema Classics bit about Casablanca?
Yes.
And Kate McKinnon was playing Ingrid Bergman. Mm-hmm. No. That's what it sounded like to me. And again, hard to take it seriously because of that. And also, I found it disjointed. It was trying to be about 8 different things all at the same time. Also, there's one thing in general. And again, before I say any of this, I will stipulate that Charlie Chaplin changed the face of American cinema, changed the face of American comedy, and not just American cinema and American comedy, but comedy and cinema in general. Mm-hmm. With that said,
yes,
I am not now, nor have I ever been, a huge fan of slapstick or that kind of physical humor. When I see it in movies or TV, when people fall down in my immediate vicinity, I think that shit's hilarious. But when he was doing like the drunk walking, trying to unlock the door at the beginning, I'm like, I can't with this. I don't, necessarily enjoy drunk for comedy. Mm-hmm. Don't love it. So I think that was also a piece of it.
Okay. Well, I think liked this movie as a whole more than you did. I do not regret watching it at all, but there are definitely things questionable about it. There are definitely things that, to modern eyes, do not hold up. But there's also a lot to be said for it. And I think some of the stylistic things, like it's definitely not old Hollywood, really, because this was a British film, but just the sheer style of filmmaking and performance, including like Claire Bloom's line delivery in this and his own as well. A lot of it is, I think, of its time and just how people acted for screen at the time, especially in, I think, British cinema. And there are definitely things about the story that really raise eyebrows now, but taking this on its own as a piece of film, I did not have a bad time watching this. And it's 137 minutes long. It did not feel that long to me. Yeah, I appreciated this. I'm glad I filled this gap. And also, I feel like I know Chaplin a little better. I am not a Chaplin scholar or anything, but you build up a certain picture and feel for these people from the past. This definitely rounds out my personal concept of who Chaplin was quite a bit.
See, that's the other problem, because you know where my personal conception of who Chaplin was comes from. And that's The Cat's Meow.
For those unfamiliar.
The Cat's Meow is a movie that came out in 2001, and it is a speculative telling of the weekend that Tom Ince was shot on William Randolph Hearst's yacht. The cast is wonderful, and Eddie Izzard plays Charlie Chaplin as just kind of a lecherous douche who spends the whole weekend trying to get into Marion Davies' underpants. Mm-hmm. And yeah, in my head, that's Charlie Chaplin.
Well, it could be worse. It could have been Robert Downey Jr.
Touche.
Except that movie, Chaplin, I thought was remarkable. I always have. And my own conception of Charlie Chaplin was changed radically upon seeing this movie. It's, oh my God, look at the way he moves.
Yeah.
As you said last night, there's nothing accidental about the way he moves. Everything was very deliberate and artistic.
Yeah.
Right? And then, of course, as I keep on saying, the voice. If he hadn't been a silent film presence, I don't know that it would have affected me the way it has. And here's the other thing. I don't know how many times I've seen this movie. I can't even count. But every time I see it, I notice something else. Something else touches me.
What was the turning point for this viewing?
This particular viewing, I don't know that Claire Bloom has ever irritated me as much as she did this time. Because to me, you could count the number of times she wasn't hysterical.
That was the purpose she served in the story. And like you're saying about his physicality, like, of course, he came up as the tramp character. And he created this movie, he wrote it, directed it, and starred in it. And you could just tell watching him, he is not unaware of like a single part of his body during any frame of that film. Everything he's doing is for something. And I think that also holds for just his performance as an actor, his, the way he speaks and moves and everything. It's not just the slapstick, and he does do the slapstick. And this shows that, like, all those years after he hit it big as the tramp, he was still good at that very thing, in addition to what he was doing as the character.
And also, in terms of who was in this. I mean, the cast list is the cast list. But his son played Neville. His brother played the doctor. His half-brother, Wheeler Dryden, played the doctor. His children were the kids in that first scene when he's struggling to open up the door.
And his other kids are around, and his wife, and...
But again, that's what he did. In that respect, it wasn't completely, unlike the movie A Woman Under the Influence, which was basically John Cassavetes' family and friends. So this one, maybe not as obvious, but it's like he had a very specific vision for what he wanted, and that's the way he populated the cast.
Wait, back up.
Here.
Really?
What?
He won an Oscar for this?
Oh, in 1972, the film was re-released, and if memory serves me correctly, he was recognized by the Academy after being blacklisted 20 years before.
For score.
Yeah. I think the music is beautiful. I really do.
No, it is.
But again, I remember watching the Academy Awards with my mother, which was something that I did. And they brought Charlie Chaplin out, and no one had seen him in like forever. And he was an old man.
Yeah. And he had gotten a Lifetime Achievement Oscar the year before, and then his only competitive Oscar in 73 for the score for Limelight.
Right. So in 1972, I would have watched, I was still at home. So I would have definitely watched the Oscars with my mother.
And I'm reading the article for the 45th Academy Awards here, and coincidentally, that's the famous Oscar ceremony in which Marlon Brando sent Sacheen Littlefeather.
Right.
Okay, so we looked it up. He was born in 1889, Chaplin. So when this movie was made in 1951, he would have been 62. And so in 1973, he would have been 84, collecting his Oscar. This is really interesting. And I can't say I really remember the dramatic score in this movie for which he won the Oscar. And I'm wondering if it's one of those things where it's like, let's figure out an award to give him.
Yeah, I mean, so it didn't screen in LA because of the blacklist stuff. So it didn't screen until 72, and that's why it was eligible all of a sudden 20 years later. And yes, it does strike me as a bit of a loophole type situation. But, also in 1929, there was, no way to know it was going to stop for a bit. So
yeah, this one beating out Images by John Williams, Napoleon and Samantha, The Poseidon Adventure, that had memorable music going on.
Why was The Godfather...
I don't know. Actually, that's a good question to ask your uncle. He'd probably know.
Although I think we may be able to
Yeah.
There's an article.
But in all seriousness, it's hard to explain what the blacklist did and who we stopped seeing because of the blacklist and who had a career afterward and who didn't.
Yeah.
So let's take a look at this cast list here. Sometimes we go from the bottom up, building up to the names we know, so we can kind of pick and choose some things to look at. This is interesting, and I can't say I noticed this. Una O'Neill, who was Chaplin's wife, apparently was an extra and Teresa's double in, it says, one episode. I don't know what you mean by this, Wikipedia. But
would that be like in one of the sequences, I'm assuming, in either one of the dance bits? 'Cause she was a dancer too, right?
Una O'Neill, I don't know, but it could have, honestly, just been, as an extra in a crowd scene. We don't know. We're not supposed to. I mean, really. Just as an FYI, Una O'Neill, Carol Marcus, and Gloria Vanderbilt were girlhood friends, and they maintained that friendship. Even after Una married Charlie Chaplin, and after Gloria Vanderbilt married that whole, slew of husbands, and Carol Marcus was married to William Saroyan, and then to Walter Matthau. So.
All right. We could take a group look at just all these Chaplins. Geraldine Chaplin, Josephine Chaplin, and Michael Chaplin as the children in the opening scene. They were cute.
And then his son from his first marriage, Sidney Chaplin's brother, Charles Chaplin III, I think.
Yeah, as one of the clowns.
Right. And we may not have known who he was, because if he was in makeup, who would know, right? And Sidney Chaplin went on to play the original Nicky Arnstein in Funny Girl.
And he played the American, and of course he was American, born in California, which avoided the hurdle of a lot of British films when they would get the American, and it was a British person doing an accent that sounded like maybe they'd been dunked in Boston Harbor and then thrown in the Thames.
Isn't it? It may not be an absolute, but it's often the case that when British actors try to speak as an American, their voice rises, and they have to slow it down so much, because compared to Brits, I believe we speak quite slowly.
Yes. I've also found that their voices get lower.
It depends, but there's always a shift in register. Like a famous one is Hugh Laurier's House, and in British he's up here, and then he's down here for Dr. House, and
right, or like Eamon Walker.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Who just always sounds angry and stentorian, and maybe it's just the roles that he has played. But then when he's talking in his own British voice, hello, it's
So he got the family in here, and they all, I think the most interesting, of course, is the most interesting character, which was Ernest Neville, played by Sidney Earl Chaplin, and as an actual character with things to do and a purpose in the story. And also, you could, if you wanted to, read something into the fact that his kind of romantic rival was played by his son, so younger him. Sure, there are analysts who would have a field day with that, as they would with a lot of this movie.
Also, I believe I read somewhere that this movie was as much an homage to Charlie Chaplin's father. I believe his parents were both in the music halls. Not so much his own career, because whatever he did, and then he was with Fred Karno, and then Fred Karno's troupe came to the United States, and basically he didn't go back.
Yeah, Charles Chaplin Sr. was in the English music halls.
but not really around.
No,
not really
absolutely
around.
not. And his, I believe as everyone knows, Charlie Chaplin's upbringing was very sad and very difficult.
Yeah, his mother was also an actress from the music halls. And yeah, Chaplin was sent to a workhouse twice before the age of 9. When he was 14, his mother was committed to a mental asylum. This from Charlie Chaplin's own Wikipedia article. Chaplin began performing at an early age, touring music halls, and later working as a stage actor and comedian. He went to films from there. But yeah, so before the silent films, he was on stage doing the things he's doing in this movie and, working with his voice and everything.
Right.
He wasn't one of those people born in silent cinema who then had to adapt.
No.
But to see him at the poster, he said the Calvero tramp comedian, and I think I shouted at the TV, "Really?"
Yeah, he's definitely playing like Charlie Chaplin with the serial numbers filed off.
Yeah. You know what I like best about this movie? The subtlety.
There are headshots on the wall that are obviously just his own young headshots.
Yeah, there were. I mean, the thing is that I believe that when he was in costume as Calvero, that was specific for that movie. But there was a headshot on the wall that I think you're absolutely right. It was his own headshot. And I guess the other piece of it is that because as the little tramp, he was always in such heavy costume. In this movie, and probably in some of the other ones, you can see he was a very good-looking man.
And also there are very, I think very deliberately, there are scenes in this movie of him, wiping off the makeup and just looking kind of haggard underneath it, but also looking like himself. And as he was making this movie for an audience who obviously would be familiar with the tramp and everything, I think there's a degree of not just biographical stuff about himself, but kind of showing, okay, here's a little behind the scenes of the whole tramp thing you know and love, and I'll give you little bits of that, little treats of that, but just enough so you pay attention to my dramatic thing that I'm doing here. It's like Copacabana with Groucho Marx. It was older Groucho, but there is a cutaway to Groucho in his young, in the costume from his younger days and the grease paint mustache and everything, doing a number. People coming to see Groucho could see a little bit of the old school Groucho and then move on to the rest of the movie where he's doing something else.
I guess the other big difference is that Calvero was a star, right? And everyone knew who he was. And things clearly went south for him for any number of different reasons. And what he had come to. And having to take care of Terry restored him perhaps to himself because he had to worry about someone else and think about someone else and be responsible for someone else. When he hawked his violin so that he could afford to buy the oranges to make orange juice for her.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And we kind of skipped up to just talking about Chaplin himself here, but another thing about the Calvero character that interested me is that's the only name you get for him. He's just Calvero. There's no first name or anything else. Maybe Calvero is the first name, but
and you don't know if it's a stage name.
Yeah, you don't know if it's a stage name. Later, he's working under a different name, and they don't say what that name is. And the fans and everyone know him as Calvero, but also Terry just calls him Calvero through the whole thing, even when she's like engaged to be married to him.
Yeah,
it's interesting. Looking at some of the bit parts here, Leonard Moody as Calvero's doctor, who doesn't get a name. He's just the doctor through the whole thing.
Well, was he just the doctor at the end?
No, I think he wasn't the doctor through the whole thing.
No, I think that Wheeler Dryden was the first doctor.
Oh, yes, you're right. Right, the first doctor, and then he regenerated into this doctor.
And then he was the doctor at the theater, right?
Okay, so he was the doctor at the theater at the end.
So Wheeler Dryden would have been the doctor at the dispensary.
Okay, Melissa Hayden is Terry's dance double. That's an important role.
He slapped her so hard her whole face changed.
Yeah, there is a scene, and we'll definitely talk about this, but it was that Spaceballs moment of, you fools, you've captured their stunt doubles. Because very obviously, and of course, watching it in HD now, it might not have been so noticeable on television or VHS back in the day.
Well, no, but it was but the Claire Bloom was not doing the dancing. It was pretty clear, and she
had a couple of spins where you could see it was her, and the rest was Melissa Hayden, who was a Canadian ballerina. Had a whole rich career.
Yeah. Oh my goodness!
What, dear?
She's at the New York City Ballet starting in 1948. She became a principal in the 50s, and she danced a lot with Jacques D'Amboise.
Interesting.
And she kept dancing until 73.
Again, that's the time.
Yeah.
60 ballets. Wow.
So she lived a life, and the dancing was good. I'm not a huge. I think we've talked about this in what was the film? Center Stage. But I am not a huge ballet devotee, but, I took some ballet as a kid, and I will sit and watch a ballet. And the ballet in this film was not bad.
I mean, The ballet wasn't bad. I think the gymnastics that it took to take the ballet and mix it with Commedia dell'arte to a situation where you could have a ballet with clowns doing clown shit of their own choice.
Yeah.
That was an interesting decision.
Okay, so Wheeler Dryden as Teresa's doctor and old ballet dancer. Okay, that's the difference. He's Teresa's doctor. The other one was Calvera's doctor. But Wheeler Dryden, what's to be said about him?
Interesting. He was in The Great Dictator. And so his brother used him in other movies.
And this was his final role.
Interesting.
He passed in 57. Okay. Marjorie Bennett as Mrs. Alsop.
Again, you would see her especially in British films.
Yeah. She lived a long life.
Oh, she was an Aussie. Interesting.
She was
Okay.
in Dobie Gillis, and she was in Whatever Happened to Baby Jane.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah, no kidding.
She was all over the place. Abbott and Costello Meet the Killer, Boris Karloff.
A character actress.
Ton of TV in the 70s.
And
Night
her
Gallery
last-
Chips.
Her last on-screen role was in Barney Miller.
Wow. Yeah, she was in a lot of stuff. Who was she in Mary Poppins?
Miss Lark likes to walk in the park with Andrew.
Uh-huh.
Okay.
Hello, Andrew.
Okay. All right. There you go.
Airport 75.
Interesting. Interesting.
And yeah, a ton of television. This is a heck of a filmography here.
Well, again, if she was there, she was available, she was willing to take parts, good for her.
Indeed. And she was fun in this. The angry landlady of the boarding house. I think she was fun in this. You could go to Norman Lloyd as Bodolink.
Yeah.
And you talk about a long career.
Yeah. Lived to 106. Only
Yeah.
died in 2021.
You're remarkable. I mean, I honestly remember him the most as Dr. Auslander in St. Elsewhere. And it was one of those things where I said to my mother something about Norman Lloyd, and she said, "Do you really know who that is?" And I said, "I guess I don't, Mom." And then, of course, it was a matter of pulling out the film encyclopedia because we did not have websites.
Wikipedia and IMDb.
Exactly. And looking up everything that he had been in and everything that he had done. And he was active a very long time. On the stage, on the screen.
Yeah, ton of theater. He was a director.
Was he part of Mercury Theater?
He was. He was a
Okay.
charter member of Mercury Theater.
Okay, then. And early television. Look at that. Saboteur. That's the one I was thinking
Yeah.
of. Sorry.
Oh, right. And he was in Dead Poet Society.
Oh, he was the headmaster
Yeah.
in Dead Poets Society.
He was the one who did the paddling and...
And I just saw him I have been reading old stuff, so I rewatched The Age of Innocence with Michelle Pfeiffer.
Oh, and he was in Her Shoes, which was not as good as the book.
A handful of Alfred Hitchcock Presents episodes.
Oh, absolutely.
3 Murders, She Wrote.
Oh, he was Merlin in The Twilight Zone. I remember that episode. He was in Star Trek.
Of course he was.
The Next Generation. Oh, Professor Galen. Okay.
And then if you also think about the behind-the-scenes stuff that he did, he had quite a remarkable career. And was active, I think, up until the end.
Yeah.
And he, in 2020, won a Los Angeles Film Critics Association Award for this movie in the category Legacy of Cinema. All right, we talked a bit about Sidney Earle Chaplin. Buster Keaton as Calvera's partner.
So I'd seen somewhere that he was involved in this, and I kept waiting for him to turn up. And then I heard his voice, and I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
It was I think almost anybody could have done it, but it was Buster Keaton, so that attracted attention right there.
Yeah, and just for fans of their stuff, I mean, seeing Chaplin and Buster Keaton in a movie together, not just in a movie together, but doing shtick together, that had to have been like an event, like worth the ticket price in itself.
Oh, absolutely. And I mean, the thing is, I believe that their stuff, each of their body of work was so very different, but it was, I believe that they are, each of them, immortal in that respect in their own way.
Yeah. And they were doing different things, but they were doing it at the same time and kind of whether you want to characterize it as like they were competing or they were compatriots or whatever, but they were both there at the same time when it was all happening.
So what you're saying is they were the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC of that kind of silent movie, physical comedy sort of situation.
Or maybe like a Temptations and Four Tops situation where...
Coke and Pepsi.
Yeah.
Okay. Nigel Bruce as Postant. Now, you had pointed out that Nigel Bruce was Basil Rathbone's Watson in those Sherlock Holmes films. And yeah, looking at that face...
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And again, another of the British colony that could be pushed into a film where you needed a British colonel, you need somebody who'd just come back from India, somebody's father, somebody's grandfather, and there he was. So,
and he was a big presence in this movie. Looking at this, looks like 6 years younger than Chaplin. Mm-hmm. He died 2 years later after making this movie. This movie was made in 1951, came out in 1952. Nigel Bruce died in 1953.
Whoa.
Only 58 years old. Mm-hmm. But 58 years old in the UK in the 1950s was basically being like 85 years old anyway.
Again, if he had ridden out the war in Britain and not here in the States, I'm sure that took years off of his life.
Born in Mexico.
That's interesting.
Huh. Beyond Dr. Watson, he was definitely one of those guys. He would pop up in a movie and elevate it. Mm-hmm. And so much work.
And it looks like from the length of his career, he also made the transition from silent to sound.
Yeah, started in 1922.
Absolutely.
In a minor role in Flames of Passion, a British silent film drama.
Mm-hmm. A long, illustrious career.
Was Stand Up and Cheer a talkie?
Yes.
Okay.
With Shirley Temple.
Because I was going to say, a silent film called Stand Up and Cheer just seems odd.
Yeah.
Stand up and open your mouth silently. And Claire Bloom as Teresa Terry Ambrose.
Mm-hmm.
She was there. She was there.
Yeah. There's a lot to be critical about, I think, about this character. And I'm willing to put her performance down to just like it was the style at the time. If you were the damsel in distress.
I'm not sure I'd be that generous. She was a young girl, 1930. So she was
20.
Yeah, she was 20 years old. And was it her first picture?
She's still with us.
Yes, she is. But was it her first picture?
So she started in radio.
Okay.
Stage. And her first film role was The Blind Goddess in 1948.
All right. So she hadn't been in the business very long.
But her big international debut was this movie.
Right. And according to this, she was costumed in clothing that Chaplin would have remembered his mother, the style that his mother would have worn at the same time. Except this was set in 1914. Mm-hmm. And I believe he left with Carno either in 1913 or 1914 to come to the States, I think. So it was very personal for him. And so he needed her to be this young, hysterical girl who only he, because of his experience and his passion for life, despite everything, was able to set on more of an even keel and say, don't throw it all away. And I believe it was, don't throw it all away like I did.
Mm. And he dressed her like his mother, which, paging Dr. Freud. How long did she keep working, I wonder?
Well, I remember her. The King's Speech. She was Queen Mary in the King's Speech. That's 2011. Granted, that's a long time ago, but still, she was no spring chicken.
She was in the movie Daylight in 1996.
Okay.
Cheesy action movie, but fun. Law and Order.
Not like Criminal Intent. Did you know that?
What? Did I know what?
She was in Doctor Who. I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Did you know that?
I did not know that. Okay. Yeah, wow. I remember the character. She played the woman, a mysterious Time Lord in the story The End of Time. And yeah, she didn't say anything. She just sat there and had meaningful looks. Mm-hmm. Wow.
Again, a very long and illustrious career. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And willing to take roles as an older woman. Not everybody was.
The King's Speech was 15 years ago already. Good heavens.
I know, amazing. That was a remarkable movie.
She made something of herself after what she did in this movie.
Absolutely. And if this was a stepping stone for her, okay, swell.
And also just the way she looks in this movie, beyond the clothing, just the really intense widow's peak.
That might just have been her. That might just be her hairline.
Yeah. No, it is, but it's also like...
Tom Selleck has a widow's peak. So does... What's the name of the actress who played his daughter on...
Bridget Moynihan?
Bridget Moynihan also has a widow's peak. And I wondered if part of the casting was that she was a certain physical type and she had a widow's peak. I mean, it makes sense.
I had a widow's peak once.
Really?
In the past.
Okay.
And Charlie Chaplin himself as Calvero, which we've talked about a lot.
And I guess the other piece of it is that we were looking at last night, because we were watching a version of it that did have commercials. How many commercials were there for anti-anxiety?
Yes.
Or...
for the treatment of bipolar disorder?
Antidepressants.
Right. And considering his family history and considering what had happened to his character, who had, again, it would appear, had been at the top of his field and now had sunk to living in a rooming house and having to scrounge for the weekly rent. And the philosophy that he shared with Terry.
Okay, I had this wrong. I thought this film was filmed in England, but it was filmed in Hollywood.
Interesting.
At the Chaplin Studios.
Interesting. So he was clearly blacklisted after that. And then he basically lived the rest of his life in Switzerland and went on to have a huge family of children with Una O'Neill.
They shot this in 55 days.
But again, despite the fact that it was shot here in the States, the style was reminiscent, I believe, of a lot of the post-war British pictures.
Yeah, it was a very British movie. And not just they rear projected British stock footage, and the rear projection is kind of obvious now, but
and again, in addition to his voice, I thought that the music was beautiful. I really did, and I believe he composed the music.
He did.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, he composed the music. He wrote and directed this. He probably catered it. I don't know, but
It's probably the only thing he didn't do.
Oh, and it's based on a novel that he also wrote.
Yes.
And it was distributed by United Artists, the company that he founded with Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford.
Yes.
I did not know that.
And which he divested from when he couldn't come back to the U.S.
Yeah.
It's like that Bugs Bunny cartoon where he's a whole baseball team and they announce, first base Bugs Bunny, second base Bugs Bunny, pitcher Bugs Bunny, catcher Bugs Bunny. Yeah. All right. So the plot section of the Wikipedia article for Limelight 1952 film. This is a very short plot section here, considering this is a 2-hour and 17-minute long movie. So the movie is set in London in 1914 on the eve of World War I and the year Chaplin made his first film, Making a Living. Calvero, Charlie Chaplin, once a famous stage clown but now a washed-up drunk, saves a young dancer, Teresa Terry Ambrose, Claire Bloom, from a suicide attempt.
It was Ambrose or Ambrose?
This says Ambrose with an E in the cast section, but in the story section, Ambrose with an A. So fix yourself, Wikipedia. But anyway, he had the whole business of fumbling his key in the lock. And that kind of set a false tone in the beginning. If you're a fan back then of Chaplin and you go in to watch this and you're like, okay, he's doing the shtick, he's doing the thing, he's a lovable little wonky dude.
Yes, but his screen credit at the beginning of the movie was Charles Chaplin. Yeah. Not Charlie. So, you knew this was a serious work of cinema.
Like, Rick Schroeder, not Ricky.
Sass.
And this whole thing of saving her from the suicide attempt is, I think, right out of the gate, this movie is doing very questionable things with the whole subject of, say, mental health care, crisis management, suicide prevention.
Why was it questionable?
Well, from the very beginning, he goes into his rooming house. He smells the gas. He goes over to her door, sees that the bottom of the door is blocked up with towels, pokes the peephole out, and sees her inside and realizes what she's doing. And you see this panning shot of her in the beginning of the film. She's lying in bed, unconscious. She's gripping a bottle, and the gas is on. And from the very beginning, they're like, should we get an ambulance? No. Should we, call somebody for, professional help? No. Let's just, you take care of her.
But when they explain why, at least I get that.
You could see why they did that, but it's also...
Except you can't look at, I'm sorry, I feel very strongly, you can't look at it through current lenses.
No, of course.
And even at the time that it was made, we're talking about 1914. And if someone who committed suicide was criminally liable, this poor kid had enough to fight against, they weren't going to do that to her too.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, I get that. And I think part of it was saying, oh, this was almost 40 years ago. Look how backward.
Yeah.
Well, no question.
Yeah.
And I totally get that. And at the same time, I think it does bear acknowledging that what's being portrayed is maybe not the way to do things. And, seeing it, obviously, I can't not see this with modern eyes, but trying to look at it through the lens of what they would have been doing and thinking and how they would have been dealing with this back then, I think it's very interesting. I also think it bears acknowledging.
Also, I found it interesting the way they danced around, why did she do it?
Yes.
It was clear what they were inferring, but that was clearly not the case.
Yeah, we talked about this during the movie. He starts speaking to her, and he ran and got this doctor. The doctor comes and checks her out and says, well, we've got to get her out of this room. Let's take her up to your room, which is 2 floors up. And they stretch her out on his bed and, get her water, open the windows, clear, get her some fresh air or whatever.
Get her some fresh air, get her to vomit up what she has ingested.
And they're not even, they didn't even say vomit or indicate it directly. But if you know, you know.
I'm giving her an emetic. Oh, okay.
And, kind of fade out. And then later she's just in his bed and he's talking with her and trying to get her story. And the way they were talking around the implication that she had...
she was a girl in trouble?
That she was a girl in trouble. It's like, well, yes, it's obviously a young girl goes out into the world and she falls ill. And if it's anything like that, I won't judge you. I've been a sinner myself. And, the way they're talking around, they're not going to come out and say, oh, is this VD? Oh, are you pregnant? Is this something, along those lines? And
people were still sleeping in twin beds in Hollywood in 1951.
Yeah, Lucy and Ricky were not...
No, Lucy and Ricky it was a big deal. They had twin beds pushed together. Actually, they didn't. They didn't. They had nightstands.
Twin bed was a nightstand, and somehow little Ricky still happened.
Right. But again, what they were able to say without saying it.
Yes. And I don't know quite, would the code have applied if they made this in Hollywood, but
Yes, it was definitely, this was definitely during the code. There's no question.
I mean, when I was thinking this was a British produced film, from there, that would have been another thing. But no, they were dealing with the code and still talking their way around it. But if you knew, you knew. And she had a tearful story about finding out that her older sister was a streetwalker. And when she saw her walking the street, she ran home and cried.
Well, again, there's a movie, Waterloo Bridge, very famous, with Robert Taylor and Vivian Leigh post Gone with the Wind. And she's a dancer, and he's a Brit, and he gets shot down, or he's missing in action, and they think he's dead, and she is just beside herself, and she ends up on the streets. And he comes back and he sees her. And I mean, it's never said what she's doing, but the inferences are crystal clear.
Yeah.
You have to watch and you have to listen, but it's there.
So it comes about that she wasn't a streetwalker. She wasn't in trouble, but she was insisting that she had a rheumatic fever and she couldn't move her legs, all sorts of stuff.
But again, in a pre-antibiotic era, rheumatic fever, there wasn't much you could do except plop the person in the hospital and treat the symptoms.
Right. But then the doctor said she didn't actually have rheumatic fever? Or she showed no signs of it?
It's possible she didn't. But after having been in a hospital, and again, it didn't sound like there were parents, so who knew?
Just like imagining completely as a thought experiment, nowadays, a young woman makes a suicide attempt and they decide, no, let's just drop her off in the apartment of this stranger who doesn't know her, an older man who happens to live near her. And just, okay, you take care of her now. There would be so many people hauled away in chains on that decision. Okay, so nursing her back to health, Calvero helps Terry regain her self-esteem and resume her dancing career. I don't know how much of this was 1950s and how much of this was portraying the 1910s, but the fact that the treatment for what we would now call something like manic depression, bipolar disorder, something along those lines, is just shouting at her and going, no, you silly girl. Basically, do something else.
It beat ending up in a mental hospital in a straitjacket, which is what happened to his mother. Because Terry had someone to take care of her.
Yeah.
Hannah Chaplin did not.
And imagine being like Chaplin in that position where you wish you could go back in time and just shout at your mother to not be nuts. It was, if you'll pardon the expression. But again, this is something where I think it bears examining under modern eyes, the whole way in which they deal with this. But it's Charlie's movie, so it seems to work, at least a bit.
I think he took a huge chance.
Yeah.
And she was fortunate that she ended up with someone who did not take advantage of the situation. And if he was rewriting history, that this is the way he wished he had behaved, okay, swell.
Yeah. In doing so, he regains his own self-confidence, but an attempt to make a comeback is met with failure.
So they're both working on their careers. They're basically living together, and they had told, well, the landlady wanted to get rid of her.
Yes. And so he convinced the landlady to just pretend they're man and wife.
But if he had gotten rid of her, she would have ended up in the streets, or she would have ended up in a workhouse. Those were the options.
Right.
So taking care of her and pretending that she really didn't try to commit suicide or not doing anything officially, and even shouting at her or slapping her in the face was far preferable by those standards to the other options of not having someone to be able to take care of her.
Absolutely. I don't think that's a question at all.
It works out, and she's getting into it and playing house with him and doing the housework. Well,
she's not, clearly she's not well enough to pursue her career, but she's well enough to act like a responsible human being who's trying to do her part in this odd relationship.
Right. But this is weird because she's also like, I can't walk. My legs don't work. And then she's like up and doing shit in the apartment. And then...
Well, there's a little montage of him helping her stand and then helping her walk a little bit.
Right.
And helping a little bit more. And it's one of those little montages of like, oh, she's walking now. And she all but like throws away crutches like Tiny Tim at one point, and because he's getting down on himself. And she gets up out of the chair while she's scolding him to cheer up now, and then has this moment of like just staring at the camera. I can walk. I'm walking. I'm walking.
She forgets herself because she's so concerned about him.
So of course, what was going on with her legs was psychosomatic, and she just needed to snap out of it.
Well, again, he was taking a huge chance, but considering what the alternatives were.
And it also goes into him trying to get some more work. And the name Calvero is poisoned for some reason on the entire music hall circuit.
Probably because he wasn't reliable, because it was Calvero and they'd hire him and he'd show up drunk and he couldn't perform. And I'm just extrapolating here.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
Right. But there was also that whole thing of like, he was drunk because he thought he was funnier when he was drunk. He couldn't be funny when he was sober. And then at one point he's sitting there talking to Terry and he said, I haven't had anything to drink since we met. And then he gets this booking.
And he falls flat on his face.
And everybody walks out.
Also, before that, he's sleeping on the couch while she's in the bed. And he has these dreams of he's doing his old act. And in these dream sequences, you see him doing the tramp. It's not the Chaplin tramp makeup of old, but it's a different makeup for Calavero. But he's doing the tramp stuff. He's doing the walking and the stuff with the cane. But he's also doing it with voice. So it's not Chaplin from the silent era, but it's what he must have been doing on stage before, he was Chaplin, the screen star. And, little songs and sketches and bits and the whole thing with the flea circus, which was very funny. And then he starts dreaming that he's doing an act with Terry. Mm-hmm. And that bit is funny. And I think Claire Bloom does well with the comedy of that, better than she does with the drama in this movie.
Also, I think Neville is kind of out of time here. Mm-hmm. Because when they're playing house, for lack of a better term, she explains about this young composer she had met, but she didn't know his name, and she was sneaking him extra music paper, and she was giving him change that he didn't actually get. Mm-hmm. And then she got fired behind it, and she's like, I never saw him again. I don't know what happened. And Calvero says, well, someday you're going to bump into him, and someday the whole story will come out, and you'll tell him you've always loved him, and he'll tell you he's always loved you, and you'll live happily ever after.
In so many words,
and they probably did.
Right. But then the fact that they're just like, oh, hey, here's Neville. And he's just like...
Yeah, we haven't gotten to that bit yet. But
right.
It's you.
But it is the next bit in the wiki here. Terry says she wants to marry Calvero, despite their age difference. However, she has befriended Neville, Sidney Earl Chaplin, a young composer who Calvero believes would be better suited to her.
Right. So they also have skipped how she ran into him.
Yeah.
How all of that happened. That... she had gotten this job that Calvero had suggested she go try out for, right? Am I? Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. But this is after Calvero tries and fails to make his comeback, and she's up there and standing and walking again, and she's like, well, I could go back to dancing. And she ends up getting work as a dancer, and through that ends up auditioning for Neville's show that Neville composed.
Right. And
in which she gets Calvero the job as one of the clowns.
Right. None of that is here.
None of that is here.
Yeah.
But,
So she gets the lead in this show. She's all of a sudden the toast of London.
The prima ballerina.
Of the Empire Theatre.
Yes.
Yes.
And she's dancing on stages all over the world. Well, so the show opens. And then, in order to give them a chance, Calvero leaves home and becomes a street entertainer.
Yeah, which is the next section in the wiki here.
Right. So Calvero pieces... after the show opens. Mm-hmm. Like, opening night, he's just out. Mm-hmm. Terry comes home after the premiere, and everyone is so excited and so happy. And because during the audition segment, he was sitting in the back, and then the audition happens, and then everyone is all over Terry, and they just forget him, and he's sitting there in the dark. And then she proposes.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'm guessing she literally felt that she owed him her life, which she did. Mm-hmm. And she felt safe with him.
Right. All of this is true.
And how could a man and a woman be together if they didn't get married?
Exactly.
They couldn't.
Right. Mm-hmm. So while Calvero is gone, there's this whole montage of Terry dancing in front of a series of superimposed backgrounds, which was her dancing all around the world. Which also how in
World War I could this have happened?
Yeah.
But leave that... by the side of the road.
She's dancing on stage, and you see rear projected the Eiffel Tower, and
was she in Moscow?
Yeah,
right.
All sorts of places.
Yeah,
and then you see them back in London, and now the Empire Theatre says Teresa at the Empire.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So clearly, she has become quite a personage and a star in her own right.
Yes, and there's this band. Like a street band
right.
who are a recurring motif throughout the film.
Yeah, they play late at night outside Calvero's apartment. Mm-hmm. There are a few drunks who just play music out there for, busking.
So then later Calvero is busking with them.
Yes, because she comes home after this triumphant performance, and there's the misunderstanding with his replacement. Mm-hmm. The replacement clown. Poston is up there, and he's like, the show is great, but one of the clowns isn't that good, and we're going to have to get rid of him. To which he's informed, oh, but that's Calvero. And he's like, well, then we better keep him. And he had already sent away for the agency to send another actor to audition for the clown. Calvero bumps into this guy in the street on his way in and is an old friend of his. They're like, oh, have you been? What are you up to? And he goes, oh, well, apparently the guy playing the clown in this isn't very good, and I'm going to see if I can get the job. So Calvero, seeing this and not knowing that Poston was going to keep him, he goes back home, and then when Teresa gets back to the apartment, all Calvero's stuff is gone. Non-faded spots on the walls where all his pictures and posters were hanging are blank, and he left her a note. And, yeah, where are we? In order to give them a chance, Calvero leaves home and becomes a street entertainer. Terry, now starring in her own show, eventually finds Calvero and persuades him to return to the stage for a benefit concert.
A benefit for what?
For him.
Yeah, Poston and Bodalink see him busking outside this bar, and like, what are you doing this for? We want to do more stuff with you. And they talk him into this benefit performance, which can be his big comeback to the stage that he's always wanted.
And there are 15 other acts, 20 other acts. It
Like
becomes this whole thing snowballs. And we hear that Calvero and this guy he knows have worked out a bit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
And
lots of ideas.
Buster Keaton.
Well, we don't know it's Buster Keaton
No, we
until
don't
the
know
night
yet.
of.
You're
Yes.
right, we don't know yet. And then all of a sudden we see them in the dressing room. It's, oh my God, it's Buster Keaton.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure that the audiences reacted that way as well.
Mm-hmm. And the dialogue in there, just person after person coming in and going, oh, it's just like old times seeing you two here. And Buster Keaton goes, if one more person comes in and tells me it's like old times, I'm jumping out the window. And then Poston comes in, oh, it's just like old times.
And Buster Keaton throws his hands up in the air.
The dialogue in this movie is very good. Chaplin was obviously writing for himself, but like, I think if I were reading the script, I would be entertained. Yeah, the lines, they flow, they're kind of melodic and rhythmic and just really well crafted.
He was writing, he wrote the dialogue for himself with his own cadence and his own rhythm and his own tenor.
Yeah. And, when you're writing for yourself, you kind of know your strengths and what...
Absolutely.
And, you don't have to explain what you want lines to do.
It's not at all the same thing, but when I'm writing something for me to read,
Yeah.
I will rehearse it over and over again to make sure that it flows the way it needs to.
Yeah.
And that's just a little thing.
I've written stuff for myself and for you, and we've written stuff for ourselves together. And, yeah, we know our voices.
Yeah.
Reunited with an old partner, Buster Keaton, Calvero gives an ambiguously triumphant comeback performance.
What's ambiguous about it?
I guess what I thought was ambiguous, well, the thing that was so puzzling to me was he did the stuff that he did in the theater in Middlesex when the audience walked out. And now all of a sudden, people are hysterical.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I think part of that was when he did the gig in Middlesex, he wasn't performing as Calvero. They told him the name's Poison, so he's like, I'll use another name. They never say what it is. But in Middlesex, it's a dinky little music hall, and they don't know that it's Calvero. They're just like, who's this guy? We're not into what he's doing.
Right, but like if it's the same exact act, or how much did the name... I
think the name, as this scene proves, the name is worth something because, in the very beginning when he first starts talking with Terry, she's like, oh, you're not that Calvero, the famous entertainer, the famous comedian. The people running the theaters took his name as Poison just from the experience of working with him. The audience, who knows they're going to see the great Calvero make his, comeback benefit performance, they're receptive to what he's doing, and they know what to expect. They know that they're going to come and see Calvero. Just as I think the audience in the theater for this movie knew they were coming to see Chaplin.
Right. But I mean, I guess my other question is, if you were Poston and Bilderbeck, what's his name? I'm sorry.
Bodalink.
Thank you. So he ran. He pieced.
Yes.
And he had a part in their show. So I feel like they may not have been so positively disposed toward helping this guy who bailed, assuming he was going to be fired without actually being fired. He did not leave them in a great place.
Well, he left, I think he figured he would jump before he got pushed.
Right.
Yeah, and I think they glossed over any actual consequences that would have had for that show. Maybe they did just let the other guy who showed up be the clown.
Maybe. I don't know. But again, the part I don't understand is we're hearing these rapturous receptions.
Yes.
There are people literally, there's a call from the back of the house that he needs to do an encore. There is nothing not triumphant about this.
I know. So there was no, I mean, to me, there was nothing ambiguous about
Not
it at all.
at all.
Maybe the person who wrote the Wikipedia article didn't know what ambiguous meant.
I mean, okay, there is one thing you could potentially imbue with some ambiguity.
Which was?
The beginning of the Chaplin-Keaton segment, when there's no background music and no audience sound.
Right.
Yes.
Were they there?
I found that very interesting. You know, they show the act that he and Buster Keaton are doing on stage. There's no laughter. There's no responses at all. You're just watching the comedy. And I'm thinking, obviously, if they made this movie for the theater, they're expecting that this will be full of real laughter from the audience you're watching the movie with. And that was expected to just be happening. And so the audience in the movie isn't heard until they're needed again as to feed the plot. So
Right, but it's weird watching it back.
It is, and it's
utter silence.
It's weird watching it in utter silence at home, which I guess would not have been what they were making this for, what they were expecting this to ever be. You know, no one, I think, in 1952 was thinking about how is this going to play on television when, you know, a family is just gathered around the TV and watching it, versus this is a theatrical film,
Right.
and we're expecting there to be laughter.
It was designed to be exhibited in the theater.
It's like if you've seen these clips of people have taken sitcoms like Friends and muted out the audience laughter and just posted it to YouTube as is. And so you get the characters delivering these lines and then these awkward pauses where the audience is laughing, but, you know, it's not in the clip. So it just looks like people, you know, talking to each other, very staccato, saying a sentence, awkwardly staring at each other for a minute, saying another sentence, awkwardly looking at each other for another. It's that kind of thing. There's expected to be laughter there. And so I can see why it's like that. And of course, if they were making this movie now, they would have had the laughter in there,
or at least the music in the background.
Yeah,
that was the weird part. Because when he was doing the thing with Phyllis and Henry, there was background music.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And I also understand that part of the conceit of the bit was that they were musicians who couldn't get started. So it's like, where's the music coming from? I understand that conceptually.
It's also Chaplin and Buster Keaton, two great silent performers, performing something that was not dialogue-based.
That's a point.
Yes.
That's a very good point.
But it still would have had music in the background.
I know, but and in a silent picture, in a silent film, you would have had music from the pit band, right?
Yeah, like so many, like when you would watch a silent movie now, you would have music on like your DVD or Blu-ray or whatever, but it's been added after the fact because it would have been played live in the theater while the movie was being shown.
Right, right. I mean, and again, two silent performers who understood pantomime and who understood the importance of exaggerating the physicality because you couldn't take anything for granted.
Yeah, and these performers also who would have come up in vaudeville and the music halls. And so they know from performing not only for screen, but what it would have been like to perform on the stage with an audience. The comedy of that bit was great. I loved it.
And I suppose the end of it, when he is the pratfall and ends up in the bass drum, and rather than falling as he had fallen so many times and walked away, this time he hurt himself badly. Probably injured himself. He fatally injured himself.
Oh, I thought he didn't hurt himself. I thought he just had a heart attack.
Yeah,
He got off stage and had a heart attack. And it happened to be when he fell into the drum.
that's kind of ambiguous, but it's also like, did he not rehearse this pratfall that he was going to do, and just
Which
however many years later?
He did, because you heard him giving the instructions to the stage manager, saying, "After I fall in the bass, then like 4 people need to carry me off."
But was this an old man just assuming that he would shake off the stunt as he had so many times in the past, and then doing the stunt with an old body that was not prepared for that? And especially since they show him in the dressing room before the show, and he's taking a drink. And Chekhov's drink happened because he said earlier, "Oh yeah, the doctor said it's not good for my heart." So
I think it was a combination.
So, ambiguously triumphant comeback performance. At its end, he suffers a heart attack on stage and is placed on a cot.
But before that, he's placed on the cot. So he's in the drum.
Yeah.
And the crowd is continuing to cheer
So
for
they
him.
bring him
They bring him
out.
back out. in the drum.
Just carrying the drum.
Because he can't get out of it, clearly.
Yeah. So he's like, okay, I can't do anything more tonight.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
But he glosses it over because he's backstage and the doctor says he's having a heart attack. And one of the guys is like, well, I better go out and tell them that he's ill. And he's like, no, don't do that. Bring me out on stage. I'll take care of this. So they bring him out on stage and he goes, I'd love to do more, but I'm stuck. And just like playing it off as another gag, professional comedian to the end there, just making sure that the audience is still happy and having fun and his performance is still a success. And then they bring him in the back and put him on a couch in the prop room.
Mm-hmm. And then carry him out to the wing so he can see Terry dancing.
Yeah. Anticipating his imminent death, Calvero asks to see Terry, who is the next act, dance. Carried to the wings, he appears not to open his eyes and then dies as she dances. And that's the end. And in this bit, you do see, like, as they're setting him up in the wings, you do see Claire Bloom spinning around a little bit close to camera. Mm-hmm. So that was her and not the double, but there's a lot of footage of the double. Mm-hmm. It's very dignified. They're all standing around him. And as she's dancing, they show them setting him up in the wings, propping the pillow up under him so he should be able to see, then noticing that his eyes aren't open. And the doctor comes over and just, all this is happening silently, just examines him, gives everyone else a look, and they get a sheet and start unfolding it over him as they set up the stretcher from the ambulance. And that's it.
Yeah. And, there had been, I wish he'd get an ambulance. I don't expect him to last the night.
There was that final moment where before she went on stage, she's at his side and he's like, oh, yes, we're going to tour together and perform, you and I. And he knows, maybe she knows too, but maybe she's just not computing it that, oh, no, none of that's happening. Neville's right there. And he's like, I'm here too. And I think the implication is that he's there. He's going to take care of her. Mm-hmm. So this is not a tragic end for her. And so, therefore, he can die knowing things are handled.
And that she's going to go on and she's going to survive and she's going to have a career. And, he's done everything he can do.
We forgot the slapping part, though.
We did forget the slapping part, yeah.
So it was the night of the premiere of the ballet where she had the lead, and this is going to be the life-changing thing. It's about time for her solo. And she's about to go on stage, and she says, oh, my God, my legs don't work.
I can't do it.
I can't do it. I can't do it. She's freaking out. And he snaps out of it, her.
Yes.
He slapped her across the face. Mm-hmm. And did he push her?
Yeah.
Go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very much like Cher slapping Nicolas Cage across the face in Moonstruck.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Snap out of it.
Snap out of it.
And as I said, he slapped her hard enough that her whole face changed.
Yes. Because, of course, it's the double that goes out.
Because she stumbles away and then the dance double comes out on stage.
Yes.
Kudos to them for crediting the dance double, by the way.
Oh, they had to. It's Melissa Hayden. They couldn't not credit her.
Understood.
Yes.
But, who was the...
But they didn't Lena Lamont her.
They didn't Lena Lamont her.
No.
They didn't Kathy Selden her. They didn't... Who was the woman who sang in West Side Story?
Marnie Nixon.
Her.
Oh, yes.
They didn't Marnie Nixon her.
But what I'm saying is, it's not like it was an unknown like Kathy Selden.
Right.
Melissa Hayden was a ballet...
Well, at that time she was in the Corps.
But she was a somebody.
Yeah.
And maybe that was the only way she would appear. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know.
She was in the New York City Ballet while shortly after its founding in 1948. This is Melissa Hayden. Becoming a principal dancer in 1955. So she was a jobbing dancer when this movie was made. Mm-hmm. But...
And it's possible that she was available or she was in Britain. I mean, who knows? No, she wasn't in Britain. They made it in California.
Yeah, and she was a New York dancer at the time.
Right,
so
right.
It was fine. So yeah, it worked, and yeah, that's another instance of what's the treatment for mental health crises? Oh, yell at her and also haul off and slap her across the face. You silly girl, and yeah,
and
that's.
If he hadn't done that, she would have crumpled into a little. She would have crumpled into a ball on the floor. Mm-hmm. She never would have had any kind of a career.
Yeah.
It was tough love. And I suppose that by current standards, it seemed horribly cruel. She got out on that stage. I mean, she went out a kid and she became a star.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she did have the kind of reflection after that of, well, something is gone now. Going out there a child and coming back there a bit more grown up, I guess.
Well, he didn't. Again,
what's it like to wake up famous?
Yes.
In 42nd Street, Julian Brooke doesn't slap whatever his name is, doesn't slap Peggy, whatever her name is, played by Ruby Keeler. He shakes her and tells her, you have to do this. Think of all the bit. You're going to go out there, kid. You're going to come back a star. Now go. And he does.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that was Limelight.
That was Limelight.
Mm-hmm.
How long has it been since you'd seen this?
Oh, a couple of months. I saw that it was going to be on Turner Classic, and I saved it so that I could record it because I knew that I wanted to do this with you.
Awesome.
So I saw it just a couple of months ago.
How do you feel in general that this holds up?
I believe it's one of a kind. It doesn't have to hold up. I don't believe it can be compared to anything current because it's Charlie Chaplin, for God's sake.
Yeah.
And for all of the stuff, did he, didn't he, should he, it was Charlie Chaplin. And for me, it was the little tramp who could act, who could direct, who could compose music, who had this remarkable speaking voice, who spoke words of sensitivity and of reason. And for me, it doesn't need to be anything else than that. I thought that was a lot. I still do.
Yeah. Yeah, I do not regret watching this at all. I think it definitely feels like one of those movies that you ought to see if you're interested at all in this era or the Chaplin era. Yeah, I think it was a good watch. I think if this popped up on TV again, I would watch it again.
Mm-hmm. Gila, would you watch it again?
Maybe not.
I didn't think so. I really didn't think so.
But this does also put me in mind of a couple years ago when we were here over Passover. Mm-hmm. And we went to Wisconsin Dells. Mm-hmm. Geneva Stage, though, is the name of the theater.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we saw the afternoon with an evening with Groucho.
Right. It was in the middle of the afternoon.
Right.
You two were so happy.
Yes,
you two were so dialed in.
Mm-hmm. And just to explain, this was an evening with Groucho, which is a tribute show that an actor named Frank Ferrante, who is an excellent Groucho Marx impressionist, does. And it's this basically one-person show about Groucho's life. And yeah, Susie and I were so into this. We're a couple of huge Marx Brothers geeks.
We were laser focused.
Yes.
And I was there too.
and you were a very generous companion.
And it was Pesach. So we weren't eating or drinking anything.
We were at this dinner theater for lunch at a show, and we were the only people who weren't there for lunch, which was fine because I don't think they were great on vegetarian options.
No.
But I think there are forms of entertainment. I think there are specific entertainers that the two of you both like a lot, of which I am not as fond.
30 plus years ago, we went with friends to an evening with Theodore Bickel on a theater on the University of Nebraska Lincoln campus. Mm-hmm. Several of us were predisposed to loving it because it was Theodore Bickel, because of what he sang. We didn't care about anything else. Mm-hmm. We didn't care where we were sitting. We didn't care about anything else. Mm-hmm. Other people who were with us, I didn't understand the music. I didn't understand the words. And I remember thinking, it's Theodore Bickel, what do you care? But if you don't have that emotional tie, I can't believe I just spent 2 hours doing this. Am I wrong?
I mean, it was lovely to spend the time with the both of you. You were both clearly very much enjoying it.
Could we compare this to when you were kind enough to let me take you to see the Cybertronic Spree performing in concert?
Yeah, not dissimilar. You took me to see the Cybertronic Spree, and I took an extended bathroom break. You mean that moment?
Yes. The Cybertronic Spree are a metal band who perform in character dressed as Transformers from the 1980s cartoon. And they play their own material and also covers of a lot of 80s hair metal. And this is a band that I have followed for ages and was really excited to finally see live. And Gila, you were there too.
I was there too.
Yes. If you are predisposed to the subject matter or the performer, it almost doesn't matter what happens. You're in the moment and you're there.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, like, I'm trying to think of when Alan Cumming did his solo Macbeth. Mm-hmm. Of course I went. Mm-hmm. Macbeth is not one of my favorite Shakespeare. And it was hard to understand a lot of what he was saying because of his accent. Mm-hmm. It did not matter.
It was Alan Cumming.
I was rapt.
It was Alan Cumming.
It was Alan Cumming. I was riveted.
Of course you were.
So I understand that there are people who, the Charlie Chaplin of it all of those pieces, I get it. It is Charlie Chaplin, qua Charlie Chaplin is not necessarily enough of a selling point for me. Which is fine. You both still love me.
And we will always love you. But I get it. Again, when I saw this for the first time, all that I knew about Charlie Chaplin was The Little Tramp. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So this is 30 plus years after The Little Tramp, 40 years after The Little Tramp. Mm-hmm. Okay? And it's not a silent picture. It's not all pantomime. It's a whole different thing. And so I will always look at it. I will always view this movie through those lenses.
Also, learning more about this movie and learning that, this was when Chaplin was a persona non grata in the U.S. when this came out. And so the movie kind of crashed and burned here. It was boycotted even. But England loved it. Mm-hmm. And,
exactly.
He went to Switzerland, but he stayed out of America and just kept doing his thing. Yeah.
Right. So while heading to Britain to promote the film, he learned he had been refused re-entry to the United States because of his political views. Again, his alleged communist sympathies and the criticized nature of his recent personal life. And ironically, of course, by this point, he's been married to Una O'Neill for 10 years.
Yeah.
They're having a family of children. He's living the life that he's finally ready to live, and probably more blameless in his personal life than he's ever been before. Mm-hmm. But they could get him because of his political sympathies and because of the political tenor in the United States at that point in time.
Right.
But also considering like his real life and, the edits he was able to make in this is sort of a self-hagiography. Mm-hmm. And, he married Una when she was a teenager.
Yes, he did.
And he was much older. So being able to go back and not only, work out some mom issues, but also like kind of have his, as you said, Gila, his sort of dignified death, with a full return to power and everything else. And there's something very attractive. Like, I'm not really interested in putting out biographical work about myself. But if I were, I could see the attraction of being able to fix mistakes that I have made, or, when things went wrong in my life, and what if I could just change the story and put that out there instead?
But then there was something that I saw go by in the wiki where he was like, this isn't about my father. What are you saying? This is about some other silent film actor whose name completely escapes me right now. But, my dude.
Yeah.
Own it.
All hail Gila, Queen of Omaha.
Precisely.
No, seriously, it was him. It was him. It was it was working out all of this stuff that had brought him to the precipice.
Yes, and having to go back and do. It wasn't exactly the Tramp makeup, but it was pretty close.
It was as close as it was going to get at that point in time.
It was an off-brand version of it.
Right. So then to go back and to do all that stuff again. To kind of bid it farewell, I would suppose.
Yeah. And I'm interested in, where's Chaplin's article? I'm interested in where this is in his greater filmography. Yeah, after this he did A King in New York and A Countess from Hong Kong in 57 and 67. And that was that.
And I've not seen them. The truth is I've seen The Kid.
Yeah.
And I have a hard time watching silent movies. I have a very hard time. Mm-hmm. Because
I certainly do.
I believe you have to pay very close attention to what's going on the screen.
Yeah.
And I'm not used to doing that anymore.
Yeah, there is the whole context of watching a movie now. Like if you're watching it at home, you're sitting, you probably have your phone that you're twiddling around on, or you're chatting with the people in the room, maybe getting up to get a snack, whatever. And especially someone from this era creating for theater, and as we were saying, like with the comedy scene and like leaving space for laughs in the theater. And this was very clearly made for a certain format, and that's not a format that it's all that likely that you'll see this in when you see this. We go to like the Museum of the Moving Image and other sort of art housey screenings of old stuff, and having been there and seen things like old Marx Brothers films with an audience who are all laughing at the same bits that I laughed at myself in my room with a VHS so many times alone. But, experiencing it with a crowd is a whole other thing.
Do you remember, Gila, when you and I went to see Singing in the Rain on the big screen for the very first time?
Yes.
Because I had only ever seen it on television, and I think...
I'd only ever seen it on television.
So we're in this theater, and the movie starts, and not long into it, you and I turned to each other and said, oh my God, there are people here who have never seen this.
Yeah.
So 10 years later, we went for another anniversary re-release, and it was the same thing. But it was also, I was thinking, what did we recently see?
we saw
Spinal Tap.
Yeah, we saw the original Spinal Tap in its anniversary screening.
It's 41st anniversary screening because, of course.
Because the sequel's out now. And that's another one. Seeing it not only on the big screen where it's much huger than any of the VHSs and DVDs I've ever watched.
But like the first time we went together to see the Muppets Take Manhattan,
yes,
we were in an empty theater.
We were.
It was seeing a movie we'd seen a gazillion times before. But basically it was just us.
And it was the first time I think we'd watched it together. I don't think we watched it together on video or anything before that.
We hadn't. We'd both seen it a gazillion times, but that was the first time we saw it together.
Yeah.
But it was on the big screen, but we were by ourselves.
Yeah, there was one other couple in the theater, and they were very quiet.
And they were very far away.
Yes.
So it's basically seeing it by ourselves. And yeah, the experience of seeing this with people versus not, it's fascinating.
Yeah.
Oh, it is absolutely fascinating. And I also maintain that because of home video and streaming, et cetera, people don't know how to watch movies in public anymore.
Oh, that's very
If they
true.
ever did, they don't anymore. And it's unfortunate, but that's the world we live in right now. You've got more experience than I do with this. What about going to live theater? Is it the same thing?
Yeah. And it's the best experience we've had in a while has been going to some of the off-Broadway stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff at New World Stages. Or 59.
59 East 59.
Actually, both.
Both.
But yeah, the off-Broadway stuff that's not as... I'm sorry to say it this way, but it's not as touristy and it's not as a little more off the beaten path.
Very true. I came up working in regional theater out on Long Island, and it was the same thing where there were people who knew that they were going to theater, and it was a very fancy occasion, and they treated it with dignity and everything. And then there were people who went in just feeling like the theater I worked in when I was a teenager. I worked on lighting, was literally on the same street as the local movie theater. And sometimes you would get people who came in and didn't know how to act at a live performance. I was running Spotlight on a show once, and I was up on this platform behind the rearmost row of seats. And so I'm sitting up there on the platform with a big ancient spotlight, and some kid is sitting in the seats in front of me with his family. This is before the show started, obviously. And he turns around to me and he goes, "Are you the one who projects it?" Because he just saw me with this big piece of equipment there. And I said, "I think this is a little different than you're expecting. Just wait and see what happens. I think you're going to enjoy this." But yeah, there has always been that sort of phenomenon at live theater where people, because live theater isn't the end all be all of entertainment these days, where people don't know what the deal is or how to behave. And you see that now in New York, as you said, with the touristy shows and the big deal shows that everyone's trying to get to so they could say they've been there rather than because they wanted to see that particular thing. Everyone wants to have seen whatever big Tony things are happening at the moment, or the big Disney things or whatever. And the people who make the effort to go out and see the weirder stuff, which is, I think, the stuff we're also more attracted to as theater people, as theater consumers, I think, when you've put in the extra work to even learn what's going on in at 59 East 59th or whatever, you're more likely to be surrounded by people who are there on purpose and will treat it with more of the dignity and the respect it deserves.
Right. Like the show that you took me to in August. It's called Gene and Gilda. Mm-hmm. And it's exactly what it sounds like. Mm-hmm. And we were at 59 E59. And it was full of New Yorkers. We were some of the youngest people in the theater. And it was silent. Mm-hmm. No one even unwrapped a cough drop. It was perfect.
Yeah, we were in the front row.
And it was, oh my goodness, it was amazing. Mm-hmm. And if you contrast that with like some of the Broadway experiences that we've had. And I remember when we went to see Chicago a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Jinx Monsoon. So we went to see Chicago because Jinx Monsoon was playing Mama Morton. The show had ended, and the overture, whatever the equivalent of the overture is after the show. Underture?
Yeah. The chur ended, and this young person a couple rows in front of us stood up and threw their arms out dramatically and said, "This was my first Broadway!" And I'm like, good for you. Mm-hmm. Good for you. And... no, it's fascinating. Like, people don't think about having their phones out.
They have to be reminded.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Mm-hmm.
And no, you're not supposed to vape during this.
But it may not have necessarily been my cup of tea, but I'm glad I had this experience with the both of you.
You mean Limelight?
Yes, I mean Limelight.
Okay, well, and again, I appreciate the two of you sharing this with me because this movie wasn't so much it was transformative for me because it allowed me to see an actor who was so much more than the niche that I had put him into. Mm-hmm. There was just so much more.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I think that about wraps it up, and I enjoyed this very much, and we'll have to do this again sometime, Susie.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'd appreciate that. The trick is, of course, finding a film that Gila has not seen with me. Face it.
Yeah, but I mean, I'd seen Something Like It Hot with you multiple times.
As long as Rob hasn't seen it, it's okay.
I mean, if either or both of us haven't seen it.
Okay.
Because, one of us has generally seen the movie we're going to do unless we go to a theater movie.
And I do appreciate the guest spot. So
we're glad to have you.
Yes.
We really are.
Definitely.
Honestly, my pleasure.
And you listening to this, we're glad to have you too. And we appreciate you so much. We love all the support we get for this program and what we're doing here. And if you would like to give us a message, get in touch with us, let us know what you thought of this or anything else we've done or any questions, comments, suggestions you may have. There are many ways in which you can get in touch with us.
There certainly are. And you can find them all at our website. If you go to modern.technology/contact, you can find all of the ways to get in touch with us and a charming email form that you can just type into right on the screen, right?
Absolutely. And that page is also linked in the show notes to this episode. Or if you'd like to send an old-fashioned email, which we love, you can send it straight to watches@modern.technology.
Or if you really want to get old-fashioned and send us a voicemail, you can give us a call on your telephone or similar device. Now, again, we're not going to answer this number. This is a voicemail-only box. But do feel free to call us. The United States telephone number 1-929-399-8414. And again, we'd love to get any messages in that voicemail box that are not about our car's extended warranty. Because I don't know if you know this, we don't have a car.
If you don't want to mess around with pressing buttons on a telephone, you can also use your smartphone or desktop or other device to record a voice note, an MP3, any audio file you like, what have you, and email it to us. We will get it if the file isn't ridiculously huge at watches@modern.technology. You can also go to modern.technology to find us on social media and all that other sort of good stuff.
And if somehow this is the first time you've stumbled upon this particular program, you've got all of our back catalog is available at modern.technology as well.
Absolutely. So for Modern Technology Watches, this has been Rob Vincent.
And Gila Drazen.
And Susie Drazen.
And we will catch you next time.
We will see you at the movies.
You've been listening to episode 404 of Modern Technology Watches with Gila Drazen, Rob Vincent, and special guest Susie Drazen. Go to modern.technology on the web for more info on this show, our other work, and our social media stage. Our music is The Promise by Torley Wong, released Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 3.0. Find more from Torley at torley.com. Thank you, Torley. Content from wikipedia.org is used under Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 3.0. This podcast is released under Creative Commons Attribution Share Alike 4.0 and is a production of Joyful Firefly, LLC. Email us at watches@modern.technology, and if you like us, tell somebody.
But like, I also thought it was interesting that, nope, gone. I'm sure it was something.